Hey, what's up, guys? This is Trevor Beckman, and welcome back to Sideline Sports. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Brandon Aijuk and his trade proposals that are going on, whether they're real, whether they're fake, and what to just think of all of it. So, as we know, as of yesterday or maybe the day before, there were three teams that were involved in a possible trade for Brandon Aijuk. It was the Patriots, it was the Browns, and it was the Steelers. So now we know that the Patriots are out. It was too rich for their blood, and they're out on the trade. So now we only have two teams that are really vying for the trade for Brandon Aijuk. If you really think that it's real, I still am not really sure that it is. The Browns are actually, I believe, out too. I don't think Brandon Aijuk wants to play for the Browns. I think the Browns had the most to offer for Brandon Aijuk, and I still think that there's a thought out there or a sentiment out there that Brandon Aijuk gets to dictate where he goes if he gets traded. That I just don't believe. The Niners need to get something back for him, and I'd be asking for an awful lot. So the idea that he can just decide what team he wants to be traded to, I don't think that's entirely true. I do believe he has a say, of course, but it's got to be right for the Niners too, and they have to be able to get something in return. So now it turns the attention to Pittsburgh. So what do we know about Pittsburgh? Are there a few players on Pittsburgh that are trade worthy for Brandon Aijuk? Sure, but there are other sportscasters out there talking some nonsense about how, we would love to see Brandon Aijuk line up across from George Pickens because that would be amazing. Well, guess what? That's never going to happen, guys, because if Brandon Aijuk is traded to Pittsburgh, guess who the Niners are going to ask for? They're going to ask for Pickens because he is a good receiver and seems to be climbing in his talents over the last year or so. So the guy's playing really well. The Niners are not going to give Brandon Aijuk to Pittsburgh without getting something in return. So who do we know that's on Pittsburgh that's really worth trading Brandon Aijuk for? I'm not sure Pickens by himself is as good as Brandon Aijuk. I don't think so. He might be, but him alone, that's not enough. So then you look at other people like, let's see, we don't really have a good backup quarterback in San Francisco. Justin Fields, maybe? I don't know if Pittsburgh would give up Justin Fields and George Pickens, but I wouldn't take Justin Fields standalone for Brandon Aijuk. I wouldn't do that. Maybe if it was both of them, that might be asking for a lot for Brandon Aijuk. But I wouldn't just give up Brandon Aijuk for nothing. I would just be asking for a king's ransom for him because guess what? The Niners don't have to trade him. The only thing that's out there right now is that he's going to get traded to here. He's going to get traded to there. There's a rumor that he's going to be traded to the Steelers by Friday. Well, that's great if it works out good for the Niners too. I don't think the Niners are in the business of giving away players just because they want to leave. This is the NFL, and yes, players need to get paid and get what they deserve. No doubt about it. But the teams are not just going to give away free money, and that's what you're doing. You're giving away a player like Brandon Aijuk for what? Draft picks down the road? We talked about that earlier. I don't see where the Niners would do that deal because that doesn't help them in a win now type of situation. There's nobody on the Pittsburgh Steelers I'm thinking of, and I'm looking at the roster right now. I'm looking across it to see if there's any combination of players that I would take in a trade for Brandon Aijuk. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't trade anybody aside from doing maybe a George Pickens and Justin Fields kind of trade or a George Pickens and another player. But George Pickens alone for Brandon Aijuk, I don't think I would do that. I know Brandon Aijuk is getting disgruntled. I don't really care. I just don't think the Niners think that way. They shouldn't. They're in win now mode. And again, I think the Niners have all the leverage here. So it makes me think, is this real? Are these reports that Brandon Aijuk is close to being traded to the Steelers real? It may be. I kind of think of it as fool's gold a little bit. I think it's just being put out there to put pressure on the 49ers. I could be wrong. Maybe the Niners are just going to trade him because he's disgruntled and they don't want him around the team trying to win a Super Bowl. But they're not going to give him away for nothing. And I'm looking at the players that Pittsburgh has, and I just don't see that deal coming back to the Niners unless it's for some of the better players on Pittsburgh, which would kind of set Pittsburgh down a few pegs if you think about it. They haven't been a great team for the last couple of years. I think they're trying to get better over in Pittsburgh, of course. So why would you trade Pickens, who is a younger player, and maybe another player on the team for Brandon Ayuk. I don't understand how that trade works out great for Pittsburgh unless they're like totally in love with Brandon Ayuk for some reason. I know he's a great player, but you'd have to give away a lot to get him. So I just don't see how these trades work out. Again, I think that obviously the Niners have all the leverage here since Brandon Ayuk still has a year left on his contract. And I still think, I have to look this up, so I could be wrong, but I believe the Niners could even franchise tag him next year if they wanted to. So, I mean, all the leverage is for the Niners. It's not for Brandon Ayuk in this situation. So, to again, to say that he has all the say in where he goes, I think they listen to what he wants. I don't think they listen to what he wants over what's best for the 49ers, though. That doesn't make sense. So, anyway, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and let me know what you think of this. I just think it's all kind of like crap until I actually see something happen. I just think these are all reports out there, just throwing stuff against the wall to see if it sticks. Maybe there's something to the Pittsburgh deal, but it would have to be for a good player or a good couple of players for Brandon Ayuk. So that's what I think. So let me know what you think. And so switching gears, I'm wearing the Niners hat. I'm not going to throw it off and wear the Warriors hat right now because I don't have it in front of me. But talking Warriors news, Lauri Markkanen just signed a $238 million deal with the Jazz. So that trade that the Warriors were hoping to make for Lauri Markkanen, which would have helped the Warriors out quite a bit, I would say is pretty much dead because there is no way now that they're going to take on that kind of a contract and trade. I don't even know what the value would be for players to get to that point to make that trade. So I think that's dead. Now, Lauri Markkanen probably not going to be a Warrior like we all wanted to see happen. Again, I'm not too heartbroken because my mind is telling me the guy's going to get hurt this year again anyway, and he's going to be out for a significant amount of time because he seems to always be hurt. And it doesn't seem that way. He is. He's hurt every single year that he's been in the NBA. He's been hurt. So, not totally heartbroken by it because the chances of him being hurt during the year and causing more problems for the Warriors are probably are likely. So anyway, that deal's done anyway. It's not going to happen. And unfortunately, there's not much left out there to take a look at as far as trade value or picking up any free agents on the market right now for the Warriors that I can see. I've seen some other players out there, but nothing really that I think the Warriors should make an effort to break their back over going and getting. So that leads me back to what I was saying before about the Warriors, how I think they have a great roster right now without making any moves, and they can get through at least half of the season with a good record, I believe, and maybe make a trade at the deadline. I see that as being more of a likelihood than making any moves before the season starts. I could be wrong, and things develop all the time. So, of course, we're going to be doing videos on this channel maybe every day now. I'm just starting to kind of ramp up, so maybe we'll do this every day, but we're going to report the news as it comes in. I don't have any Giants or A's news as of right now, but we'll talk more about that as that comes along. But again, yeah, I'd say the Warriors' probably best bet is to be patient, hold off, and wait until trade deadline, and try and get those wins in at the beginning of the season when a lot of other teams just don't care or aren't ready to ramp up and play hard until half the season's over. That happens every year in the NBA. The Warriors, if they decide to come out strong and just hit the ground running and get some wins under their belt right away, they can get to that free agency mark halfway through the season and pick up somebody who can really help Curry get over the finish line and get that next ring. If not, again, I think Curry's got more than 2 years, a lot more. I think he's got at least 3 or 4 years left. He's really not slowing down like we talked about before. He's not slowing down that much, if at all. He had a great year, one of his best years last year. So I do think that patience is still on the side of the Warriors. They don't have to rush into any kind of decisions where they're throwing money at a player that isn't worth it or isn't going to help as much as a desperate move. They don't need to get desperate yet, I don't think. So we're going to see where that goes. But thanks again for everybody that's watching. And again, please hit the like, hit the subscribe. I want to get some more subscribers and get this thing going in the right direction to where I can put out more content for you guys. And I'll see you in the next one.